Hi, this is the Knowledge Catalog, and we are going to discuss in this video something about biological science. If you are a public school teacher, a public school science teacher at that, you may use this video as a video lesson to your classes. Specifically for grade 7 or science 7, you can use this in discussing or clarifying things on the fourth learning competency, which goes as differentiate plant and animal cells according to presence or absence of certain organelles. The code for the learning competency is as follows. If you want to have a copy of this PowerPoint presentation, you may contact me through my page, facebook.com/knowledgecatalog/. Let's begin. First is we deal with the question, what are cells? Observe the following illustration. So, tell me, my laser pointer is actually pointing to what now? How about this one? How about this blue surrounding the cell? It is fine if you don't have definite questions yet, or if you're not sure about your answers, because we are going to discuss the parts of the cell in this video. First, what are they in the first place? They are the basic units of life. By saying basic units, we are not we don't just mean it as it is. They are the basic units of life. What we mean about that is that if life at its most complex form, such as an organism, is capable of doing some processes, then those processes have this foundation that is also found at its most basic unit. A cell holds the smallest, it is the smallest unit with which the characteristics of life are expressed. Again, the cell is the smallest form in which the characteristics of life are expressed. If you are going to divide the cell into its component parts, then I don't think we are still talking about life, because at the level of the cell, hanggang dun lang talaga ma-express yung characteristics of life. So I hope na I can't emphasize on that more. So they come in various shapes and sizes. Say for instance, a giant squid nerve cell is 12 meters long. Not 12 inches. It's 12 meters long. Whereas a human egg cell or human egg cells are about 0.1 millimeters across. Some cells have cellulose cell wall. Say for instance, celery strings. If you have eaten celery already, you know fairly well na meron siyang parts na kahit anong nguya mo or kahit anong try mo na i-break down, you can't really do that. Well, perhaps kulang ba yung force ng jaw mo. And one more is that even though you were able to chew it, your body is not going to be able to process it because it has cellulose. And tayo humans, we don't have cellulase, which is the enzyme that can actually process cellulose. Fungal cells are made of chitin or chitin, whatever pronunciation you're comfortable with, which is the same material found on lobster shells. So lobsters and fungi are quite different species, we know that, but they have that something in common. Despite this variation though, cells have the same basic machineries, and by saying basic machineries, they have common parts. In this video, we are going to talk about eukaryotes. Pero let us differentiate first what is a prokaryote and what is a eukaryote. So prokaryotes are lacking a membrane-bound nucleus. So let's look at the illustration. Again, this is a prokaryote. It lacks a membrane-bound nucleus. So what does that mean? If you will be asked to look at this illustration and to locate where is the nucleus, you will say that but that is not a true nucleus. That is a nucleoid. It is like a nucleus, but it's not exactly nucleus. Whereas among eukaryotes, you'll see that the nucleus is right here because it is enclosed by a membrane. When we say membrane in biology, we often refer to it as an enclosure. Okay, something that contains something. Okay, yung pinakapabalat, that is a membrane. That is what we mean about membrane. So they both have cell membranes, but only eukaryotes have a nuclear membrane. And most of our next discussion is going to be about eukaryotic cells. So I hope you'll keep up. Okay, so an organism is comprised of organ systems. Say a human is comprised of different organ systems, including the integumentary system, the respiratory system, the circulatory system, among others. And the organ systems are comprised of organs. Say the nervous system is comprised of the spinal cord, the brain, and then the reproductive system naman for human males it is comprised of the epididymis, the bulbourethral gland, the penis, testicles. So those are the component parts. So yeah, the organs now, lower than that, they are comprised of tissues, which are a group of cells, and cells are comprised of organelles. So think of organelles as the organs of the cell. Okay, para mas madali natin silang ma-remember. So they are membrane-bound structures inside the cell. Again, let us emphasize on that. They are membrane-bound structures inside the cell. Their membranes are also composed of phospholipids that insulate their surfaces. What do you mean by membrane-bound structure? Say in this example of a cell, in this illustration of a cell, the nucleus is enclosed in a membrane called the nuclear membrane. The mitochondria, this mitochondrion, in some references, is enclosed in a double membrane. Meron siyang inner and meron siyang outer membrane. For an organelle to become an organelle, the first one of the considerations is they must be enclosed in membranes. Now they are found in the cytoplasm, which is a viscous liquid. The cytoplasm, as we see here, is liquid. Okay, this orangey thing, okay, that's liquid. It's a viscous liquid. Some references say it's gel-like. Okay, cytoplasm, cyto, cell, plasm, liquid. I don't know, pero that's how we think of it. Okay, so the nucleus of a cell, which is the first organelle we're going to discuss, is this one. So say for instance, that's a cell. Then we'll be taking its nucleus, and the nucleus is enclosed in a nuclear membrane. So the other parts of this organelle are the following. Meron siyang nucleopore. Actually, since dalawa yan, nucleopores. So sana wag sana tayong magkaroon ng maraming pores katulad ng nucleus. And so chromatins are these strands, almost like hair. Yan. The nucleolus is found inside. The nucleolus is it's much like a smaller nucleus, and it's found inside the nucleus. So the nucleus, it contains the DNA, which is the blueprint of protein synthesis. Okay, so DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It is the genetic material. Since it's the genetic material, it contains all of the information that are going to guide the different processes that are going to affect the organism. It is the plan. It contains the plan, the blueprint for everything, including protein synthesis, which is actually a major process, a major biological process. The nucleus is enclosed within the nuclear membrane, which is obvious because again, it is its membrane, so natural lang na inside it is a nucleus. This membrane protects the DNA. It houses the molecules that protect and process that genetic information, the DNA. So, meron din siyang liquid if sa labas, okay, again, if sa labas, okay, outside, you'll see cytoplasm, that's a viscous liquid found outside of the nucleus. Inside the nucleus, the liquid found there is called nucleoplasm. Again, that is nucleoplasm. So protein channels are called, which are called nucleopores, are found on the membrane protein. They are protein channels. That means proteins can come and get inside or leave the nucleus through these nucleopores. The nucleus itself has nucleoplasm, as said a while ago, which is like the cytoplasm. It is where the chromosomes are suspended, and that nucleoplasm has molecules, again, that protect and process the DNA. Okay, so next one naman is this illustration. So I would like you to focus on this illustration. Okay, now we are going to discuss something about the nuclear membrane or the nuclear envelope. So you see here, these are the chromatins, or the chromatin. This is a chromatin. Okay, the DNA and different associated proteins. This is a nuclear pore complex. So ito yung parang in, out, okay, parang entry, entrance, and exit. And then we have here an inner membrane. So this is the part of the covering found inside. The outer nuclear membrane, the part of the membrane that is found outside. And then we have here the perinuclear space. So it's found between the inner and the outer membrane. Okay, so this is the inner membrane. Okay, this one is the outer membrane. And notice that it has an opening, and this opening is connected to the endoplasmic reticulum. So the nucleus is, again, it is connected to the endoplasmic reticulum. Take note of that. You will be needing that for the next for the next part of this discussion. Now let's talk about the nucleolus. I mentioned this a while ago. This is the nucleus. This entire circle, orange circle here, it looks lovely. It's the nucleus. And that sound you were hearing is not supposed to be part of this video, but you know, I hope you're still focusing. So this is the entire nucleus. It's enclosed in nuclear membrane, and then these are the nucleopores. These are the ribosomes. These are sites for protein synthesis. Again, ribosomes, they are sites for protein synthesis. Chromatin, we have here the genetic material, yung mga chromatin, the strands, and random strands. I hope you can still see them. The nucleoplasm, the nuclear envelope, we have here the outer membrane, the inner membrane, and between that, wala nang label dito, pero between that is a perinuclear space. And then the nucleus. When we say nucleus, it is a subspace inside the nucleus, and since it does not have a membrane, it is not considered to be an organelle. Again, the nucleolus is just a subspace inside the nucleus. It does not have a membrane, therefore it is not considered to be an organelle. Remember that the definition of an organelle is that they are membrane-bound structures inside the cell. So it may be, nucleolus may be a structure inside the cell, but since it lacks a membrane, it is not considered to be, you're right, an organelle. It is located near the area of the nucleus where DNA instructions for creating ribosomes are. So ribosomes are assembled in the nucleolus. Again, this is the nucleolus, okay, in this example, and then say there are several DNA molecules found in this space. Those DNA molecules found in this space are processing or are containing the blueprint for the production of ribosomes. Then that space is called nucleolus. Okay, let me repeat that. This is full of chromatins, this entire nucleus. The inside of a nucleus has chromatin. But there are certain parts here where the chromatins that contain the instructions for the creation of ribosomes are found, or they are highly concentrated in this part. This part, therefore, is called the nucleolus. So it depends where you'll find most of the instructions for the creation of ribosomes inside the nucleus. Nakadepende doon kung nasaan din yung nucleolus. Again, nakadepende kung saan banda dito yung mga chromatins containing the instructions for creating ribosomes. Nakadepende doon kung saan makikita yung nucleolus. Okay, now we jump to the endoplasmic reticulum. So this is the nuclear envelope. Ito, it looks like a bowl. Then those are the nuclear pore, and then you have here the inner membrane, the outer membrane, and then in between them is the perinuclear space. And that perinuclear space is connected to the endoplasmic reticulum. I hope you remember that. Okay, so an endoplasmic reticulum is basically a plasma membrane found inside the cell. It folds on itself to create a space called lumen. So these brown things right here are the endoplasmic reticulum, and they're actually membranes. Mga coverings talaga sila. Kaso they are coverings that are folded within themselves. So ganyan ang itsura niya. Now, since that folding resulted to the creation of a space called lumen, which continues to the perinuclear space. It's connected to the perinuclear space. This means that it is connected as well to the nuclear membrane. Now, endoplasmic reticulum come in two types. The first type is a rough endoplasmic reticulum, and the second type is a smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum is it is embedded, tama ba? Or it has so many ribosomes embedded on it. Remember that ribosomes are produced in the nucleolus. So once they're produced, they will just be going to the cytoplasm, spreading cytoplasm, and then they'll be attaching to the endoplasmic reticulum, making them rough. And then, since they are attached here, and since ribosomes are also sites of protein synthesis, then the rough endoplasmic reticulum becomes responsible for most transport of proteins. Okay. Naka-attach kasi sa kanila yung mga producers ng proteins. So, ibig sabihin din nun, ang rough endoplasmic reticulum, they are the major transporters of proteins in the cell. In the smooth endoplasmic reticulum naman, it's called smooth because it does not have ribosomes embedded on it. The sites of lipid, they are now sites of lipid and fat production that are important for energy storage, membrane structure, and communication through hormones. You notice they don't do protein synthesis. Okay, so they are rarely involved in protein synthesis. If not, actually, they're not at all involved. The next one, since meron na tayong transporter, actually producer pala yan. Since meron na tayong producer ng proteins, meron na rin tayong producer ng lipids and fats, now we have the packer, yan. So the Golgi Apparatus or Golgi Apparatus, the Golgi body. So this is responsible for packing the proteins produced by the rough endoplasmic reticulum only. Okay, proteins lang kasi pinag-uusapan. By putting them inside membrane-bound vesicles, which are tiny containers made of lipid bilayers. So basically, sinasabi niyan is ganito. this is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Magproproduce yan ng proteins. Yung mga proteins niyan, okay, malilipat dito sa ililipat sila dito sa Golgi Apparatus. Tapos ito naman, si Golgi Apparatus, ibabalot niya ang mga yan, into vesicles. Ito nakakat tong vesicle para makita nyo na nandito sa loob yung mga proteins. Okay? Tapos, itong mga vesicles na mayroong proteins, pwede sila niyang ipadala ni Golgi Apparatus sa plasma membrane. Sa plasma membrane, pwede silang magstay doon, or pwede rin silang lumabas ng cell. Remember, the plasma membrane also means cell membrane. So, ito yung gate ng cell. Okay, so let me repeat that. Rough endoplasmic reticulum is going to produce proteins na dadalhin sa Golgi Apparatus. Ngayon, ang Golgi Apparatus, ipapackage niya, ibabalot niya sa vesicle. Ito kasi yung vesicle na to, tinatanggap siya, nare-recognize siya ng plasma membrane. Nare-recognize siya sa gate ng cell. So, kapag nakarating na sa gate ang vesicle na nagka-contain ng proteins, pwede yung proteins magstay sa mismong plasma membrane, baka kailangan sila doon for cell signaling, or pwede silang makapag-escape na ng cell. Kasi baka kailangan sila as signals sa ibang mga cells pa. Now, these vesicles containing proteins travel to the cell membrane where they can either be part of or be transported out of the cell. And also, different molecules have different destinations. So, the Golgi Apparatus attaches tags or labels, okay, usually carbohydrates in a process called glycosylation. Para saan? Para, number 1, yung protein na nag-enter sa Golgi Apparatus, by mistake, ipapadala siya pabalik sa cytosol. Ganito kasi yan. Halimbawa, merong protein na nanggaling dito sa rough endoplasmic reticulum, napunta siya sa Golgi Apparatus. And yung protein na yun, it is intended talaga para sa cell membrane. Ngayon, papadala ni Golgi Apparatus yan sa cell membrane. Tapos, dito siya mag-i-stay. And if that protein is meant to escape the cell as a signal, dadalhin pa rin ni vesicle sa cell membrane. Kasi sa cell membrane, hahayaan lang niyang makalagpas. Now, if yung protein na pinadala kay Golgi Apparatus is by mistake lang, ang gagawin ni Golgi Apparatus, ibabalik lang niya sa cytosol, sa cytoplasm. Okay, so that's the first destination. The second destination is that yung mga proteins na nag-enter ng Golgi Apparatus na kailangang ma-send sa cell membrane are indeed sent, as explained. The third destination is that proteins that are meant to be secreted out of the cell must accumulate in number first, and they require special chemical signal. So, ganito. Halimbawa, yung proteins dito, kailangan nilang ma-release sa cell as a chemical signal for a lot of other cells. So, mangyayari niyan, hindi sila kaagad ipapadala ni Golgi Apparatus. Ang gagawin mo na niya, iipunin muna niya yung mga yon. Kapag marami na sila dun sa vesicle, dun pa lang niya lalagyan ng tag or ng label na ipadala nga sa labas ng cell membrane as a signal para para nga makarating sila sa cell membrane and then magawa yung process na yon. So, kailangan mo na sila maipon para malagyan sila ng tag. Kasi hanggat di sila naiipon, walang tagging na mangyayari. Destination number 4, yung mga proteins naman that are meant to hydrolyze the content of lysosomes are sent to the lysosome. Yung mga proteins na nakarating sa Golgi Apparatus na meant para dun sa isang organelle called a lysosome, ipapadala sila sa lysosome. Later on, you'll know kung ano ibig sabihin ng lysosome. So, yeah. I hope that you are still keeping up. Okay, the next organelle is called a lysosome. So, we don't really need to discuss these kasi everything it does is the following. Lysosome is known as the suicide bomb of the cell. They are the recycling centers with enzymes that can hydrolyze, which means chop, the chemical bonds of whatever substance crosses its membrane. So the loosened materials can then be recycled. So what does that mean? Ang lysosomes, ang ginagawa nila is kukunin nila yung mga chemical molecules, usually yung mga hindi na talaga gagamitin o hindi na magagamit in that particular form, tapos ang gagawin nila is i-chop nila yung chemical bonds na mga yon to reduce them to their component parts para magamit pa rin, ma-recycle pa rin ng cell. Kasi they may not be usable, hindi sila usable ng ganon, yung buo, pero they may be used as their component parts. Lysosomes are only found in animal cells. You will not find them among plant cells. Yeah, next one is the peroxisome. Think of hydrogen peroxide. Siguro yun yung mas familiar kayo, so use that as a springboard. The peroxisome of a cell is responsible for the breakdown of fatty acids. When it's a fatty acid and it has to be broken down, it is the work of peroxisome. It also protects the cells from reactive oxygen species molecules, or ROS. Now, what are they? What are reactive oxygen species? They are like peroxides. Okay, so they are like peroxides, normal byproducts lang sila naman ng cellular metabolism. Kumbaga, yung natural na ginagawa ng cell na pag-metabolize ng mga bagay-bagay, pag-take in at release, pag-take in at pag-release ng mga materials at pagpa-process ng mga materials in between. Natural lang na mag-produce yung processes na yun ng peroxides. Kaso, if a person is smoking tobacco or taking drugs or is exposed to too much radiation, pwede siya mag-produce pa ng mas mararami, mas malalaking amounts of peroxides. Ang nangyayari kasi peroxides, they cause oxidative stress in the cell. Ang ginagawa nila is nagre-react sila by damaging the DNA at iba pang mga lipid-based molecules. Say for instance, ang cell membrane, dinadamage ng mga peroxides ang cell membrane, dinadamage ng peroxides ang DNA. So they are the reasons why ang mga peroxides nagkakos ng oxidative stress. They are the reasons why we need antioxidants in our diet. So I hope I will let that sink in. Okay. So that's actually right. If you're thinking that, what the hell? A natural process of cellular metabolism is actually leading to the production of peroxides, which is causing harm to our bodies. Yes, that is the case. But we can combat that by taking in antioxidants or drinking antioxidants, if you know what I mean. Coffee is rich in antioxidants, and it's coffee. Okay, the next one is one of the most familiar organelles of the cell. So we have mitochondria. When it's mitochondria, it is plural. When it's mitochondrion, it is singular. Yung isa kanina, mitochondrian. So, I don't know what happened to that. So, cellular respiration is a process na nakakapag-produce ng adenosine triphosphate or ATP. Ang ATP is not the energy itself, pero it is the major source of energy for the cell. Though the process begins sa cytoplasm, much of the bulk of energy are actually produced in the mitochondria. What does that mean? Cellular respiration does not happen in the cytoplasm alone. It happens in many places. So after in the cytoplasm, it can proceed to the mitochondria, and it is there kung saan tayo nakakakuha ng pinakamaraming ATP. Okay, so yeah, it is called as the powerhouse of the cell for that purpose. Itong cell kasi, if we have the coordination of all its processes in the nucleus, the production of proteins and fats and lipids in the endoplasmic reticula, and the transport of them by the Golgi Apparatus, the breaking down, recycling of materials by the lysosome, lahat ng mga yun kasi, they are dependent on the mitochondrion too, kasi without getting the enough power to power up those processes, they will not happen. Next one, let's talk about the cytoskeleton. So we know the parts. Now let's deal with the question. Now, what keeps the cell in one piece? Okay, it's the cytoskeleton. Cytos means cell. Skeleton, bone structure. Say for instance, okay, in this example, just take a look at this. This is a mitochondrion, right? So the mitochondrion is its structure is being managed by, okay, number 1, an intermediate filament. Number 2, an actin filament. Ayan, nandyan siya. And then a microtubule. In my other videos, we mentioned microtubules in the form of spindle fibers. The cytoskeleton is a network of protein fibers responsible for both cell movement and cell stability. Cell movement, or much like organelle movement, yung mga movement ng mga materials too inside the are facilitated by the cytoskeleton. The stability of the cell itself too is being managed by the cytoskeleton. Okay, so microtubules are small tubes that are made from tubulin. They are found in cilia and flagella, which are structures for cell movement. Maraming mga prokaryotes ang gumagamit ng cilia at ng mga flagella, which cilia are hair-like projections outside of the membrane of prokaryotes. Flagella naman are whip-like projections. Usually they look like tails. Okay, they look like tails of some prokaryotes. And so they are for cell movement, for the movement of those two types of those kinds of prokaryotes na na-mention ko nga. They are also involved in cell division, being parts in the mitotic or meiotic spindle, as well as providing pathways for secretory vesicles. So, sa mitosis at saka sa meiosis kasi, yung mga centrosomes, ang nire-release nila is this, microtubule. Ito yung ko-connect dun sa kinetochore para ma-unlock siya. Tapos, lock and key kasi yung yung mechanism dun. Tapos, kapag nakapag-connect na siya through mitosis, pwede na mapaghiwalay yung sister chromatids, and if it's meiosis, pwede yung paghiwalay yung mga homologous chromosomes or yung mga sister chromatids when it comes to meiosis 2. Now, for providing pathways naman for secretory vesicles, you notice they are tube. It's a tube, so pwede siya mag-serve as a passageway for some materials to go from one place to another. Intermediate filaments naman are smaller than microtubules, but they are larger than microfilaments. So they are made of proteins such as keratin or neurofilaments. They are very stable. They help provide structure to the nuclear envelope the way the others are doing too, and even cell anchorage. So na-notice niyo naman dito, ang pinaka-contributor talaga sa pag-maintain ng place ng mitochondria na dito is the intermediate filament, right? The microtubules are here, the actin filaments are here, pero the intermediate filaments, it is the one that is connected talaga dun sa mismong organelle. Now, the thinnest part of the cytoskeleton is called the actin. Ang pinaka-abundant ito na protein in most eukaryotic cells. Again, the thinnest part, The thinnest part is called microfilament, and microfilaments are made of actin, which is the most abundant protein in most eukaryotic cells. Actin is flexible and is very strong, and it is useful in cell movement. Okay. Now, kanina yung lysosome, it is an organelle that is only found in animal cells. Now this time, chloroplast, it is an organelle that is only found in plant cells, among plant cells. The chloroplast is responsible for the conduct of photosynthesis, which converts light energy to chemical energy, producing energy-rich molecules, and oxygen remember this, is only a byproduct. Ang gusto talagang gawin ng plant cell is to harness light and produce energy, chemical energy. That's why ang pinaka gusto talaga niya output is energy-rich molecule or are energy-rich molecules. Ngayon, yung oxygen is just produced as a byproduct. They are found only in cells of autotrophic organisms such as plants. Kasi meron din I cannot really say na it's only found in among plants kasi meron din namang mga ibang prokaryotes, if I believe pati yata fungi, I don't know, na photosynthetic. So yeah, they may have the same plastid or similar plastid. Okay, so I hope that through this video we were able to achieve at least, or yeah, to have an idea kung ano yung structure ng cell, ano yung similarities ng animals and plant cells, as well as in what way are they different. Ano ba yung organelles na meron sa plant cell, ano yung organelles na meron sa mga animal cells. Now to further this, I suggest you look at my other video, the video that is discussing the stages of cell division, because in that video I answered the question on one more thing actually that is related to this. I emphasized in that video one more difference between an animal and a plant cell. So it's up to you to find out. Okay, so the Knowledge Catalog is a brand being developed by a teacher creator, yours truly. I am a high school teacher in the Philippines, and I love developing content that I find useful and needed to better my instruction. So I hope that you will be showing some support by giving this video a like, or perhaps just commenting nicely, or by sharing it. Or you can also use this in your own instruction if you are if you are a science teacher in the Philippines too. I will gladly help you if you want, or if you may want to have a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. I'm glad to help. So I hope that you will support the Knowledge Catalog as a brand, and have a good year.